Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the Beyond Bitcoin show. Today is October the 13th. 2018. Strong hand, unconfiscatable, long-term thinking. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Personal responsibility is the new counterculture. Deferral of gratification, conviction. First off, check out This Week in Bitcoin. Yesterday, we had a great show with the three Gabriels. I had three guys named Gabriel on my show. We talked about Venezuela. It was one of them was from Venezuela. You know what that's all about. You can watch all my This Week in Bitcoin shows at techbalt.com. Follow me on Twitter at techbalt, TECHBALT, disruptmeister.com. All my archives, everything I talk about in this show is linked to below. Johnny NY, during yesterday's show, sent me like over $5 in the super chat. I didn't notice until after the show. So Johnny NY, welcome back to America. And thank you for the super chat support. I really appreciate it. And I hope you had fun when you were out of the United States. All right. I want to start off with a video by Stardusk, the Thinking Ape. I linked to it below. And it was about virtual reality and about people wanting to escape into a virtual reality world because, and he was getting into some subject matters. He said that people have too high of standards today, so many people can't fit in. They have to retreat to a virtual reality world. Now, all of you know that I love the real world. I don't want any drugs in my head, anything that gets me away from this real world, because I mean, I love this opportunity. You only live once, and there's so much opportunity out there. That's the way. But I understand there are people who, and Stardust actually mentions this, who would rather live in like a virtual reality, have some virtual reality glasses on and have a feeding tube hooked up to them, like the Matrix. Basically live in the Matrix and not know what's going on in the real world. And I don't encourage that lifestyle, but what this inspired me to think of was the following. Jordan Peterson has talked about how people with an IQ under 85, or basically 15% of the population, can't hold a job, a normal Western world job. There are no jobs for them. And as technology progresses, more and more people will not be able to work in the modern world. And now, again, I mean, I can see that happening. I think people, I don't have experience working with people with 80 IQs. I think a person with an 80 IQ can do something in terms of a job. But again, I'll go back to Jordan Peterson actually has worked with such people. So let's stick with that. Well, if 15% of the population can't work, and what Jordan Peterson has implied is that that's a big problem because they're going to riot, they're going to cause a lot of trouble, commit crimes. If 15% of the population is very unsatisfied, that's a recipe for some problems. So how do we address that? And he's like, I don't know how we address that. I don't know how. Well, this virtual reality thing here. How about if we set up a situation when virtual reality gets really awesome? Like, again, you can just sit there all day and think you're the richest man in the world. You're living in a fantasy world, and then then you wake up and then you go to sleep in real life, and then you wake up again and you go to the fantasy world. Maybe not the whole feeding tube thing attached to you. But what I'm saying is we could set up a situation where you could either be on welfare or a certain level of welfare, or you could be in this, you could just, opt out into this virtual reality matrix and just live there most of the time. And then, eat some meals in the real world, or maybe have a feeding tube stick to. Anyway, and then these people who can't function in the real world they would be satisfied. They would be satisfied from this virtual reality world. And at the same time, they wouldn't be causing problems in the real world. This could also, and this gets into some controversial areas, if they spent most of their waking hours in this virtual reality world, then there would be less time for them to procreate. And there could be they would have less children or no children. So there would be less, parents out there who were inappropriate parents, because a lot of times people get into situations when they aren't too smart, they don't become good parents, and then they raise kids that don't become, it's a never-ending cycle. This could help cut down on the cycle. So I linked to Stardust's video below. And again, it doesn't deal with everything that I just talked about, but it is interesting. And again, and another problem, if we get virtual reality that is as good as I'm describing, unfortunately, we're going to get some people out there who will opt into it, who will want feeding tubes, who shouldn't, who should enjoy the real world, who should be trying to be the best they can be. But people get depressed. It's better than committing suicide, obviously, and that's the worst of the worst. Again, if someone's got the option, and I think the Stardust is not as a glass half full kind of guy as I am. I mean, I'm always looking on the bright side of things. So again, he has encountered many people in his life. He's gotten into discussions with people who say they're fed up with this life that we're in. They would rather just go to some Matrix-like world, a fake world, and just have a feeding tube stuck into them in the real world, and that would make them happy. For me, I think that's horrifying, personally. Hey, but it's personal responsibility. So we will get to that. I believe one day, and that's the thing, people say they're going to make, first of all, if they make drugs illegal, let's say this is a better, let's forget about making drugs illegal or whatever. This is like a higher version of drugs. You'll get, it's like you're constantly in a high, and you're not like killing yourself either. And that's a scary type of thing. And again, you have a guy like me saying, stay in reality, while there'd be all these other people saying, come to our Matrix land. You can't get hurt here. It's better. It's an interesting situation, but we're going to get there one day. And I'm going to, later in the video, I'm going to talk about, how technology does, it dumbs us down. It dumbs us down. And by the way, again, you will not become a smarter person by living in that virtual reality world either. I seriously doubt that. Well, you won't be a smarter person. You won't want to be in the real world. You won't be able to function in the real world anymore. Okay. Pound that freaking like button. Hey, by the way, if you're a YouTube content creator, something that I've learned, here's a little tip for you. In previous Beyond Bitcoin shows, I've mentioned the name, and I can't say this name because they automatically flag your videos when you say this name of this. He was a horrible person. The guy in charge of Germany during World War II. You can't even say his name. And of course, me of all people, I would never say his name in a good manner. Praise such a beast as that. But I have said that name before, and it immediately triggers on the video that I say it in. They demonetize it, and I have to appeal it right away. So don't say that person's name at all, which is unfortunate because you should be able to say that person's name and say how horrible, this was the worst criminal of all, the worst person of all time, one of the worst people, perhaps, I'm not going to argue who's the worst. Yeah, definitely one of the worst people of all time. So anyway, we're on YouTube. Personal responsibility is the new counterculture. I'm going to deal with YouTube's rules. I'm satisfied with it, but I'm just putting it out there. One thing that I heard this on Economic Invincibility's channel, that America has become a nation of informants. Yeah, it seems like people are just totally incentivized to inform on other people. And even when they're just making up stories, just to be a tattletale. Look, I'm going to get bonus points. I'm going to get people to like me if I say something bad that somebody did when they were 18 and I was 18. ooh, look at my virtue signaling. I mean, yeah, it's horrible. The desire for virtual signaling approval has made people into informants, and informants are pretty lowly dudes. I will say that. So yeah, don't be an informant, and don't have the informant mindset. Again, everyone's done childish things when they're a teenager, and for you just to tell them, to get some kind of virtue signaling points when you're an adult. I mean, what is that? It'd be a 20%. That's an 80%er type of thing. I'll say right there. So today is, as I said, it is October the 13th, 2018. And a guy like me who remembers dates, and this is actually the birthday of a friend of mine from college. I remember that too. And a guy from Wisconsin of all places. The Brewers are playing the Dodgers. The Dodgers won. Hey, by the way, my World Series prediction is still, I said Dodgers over Astros. They're still alive. So not that matters. But October, this time of year in Baltimore, as a homeowner, I did not like this time of year. Around October 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th, there seemed almost every year to be horrible rains. It would just rain and rain and rain. And one of my roofs would start to leak. Okay. So you're like, well, what's the big deal, Adam? What's the big? Okay. So your house is your most valuable asset, so they say. This is one of the things they don't talk about. Dealing with the roofer, dealing with the leaks, dealing with the other people complaining about the leaks. Okay. It is horrible when you have a leak. It's horrible. Or the flooding that can happen too. My house never flooded. But again, there's always going to be a time of year, whether it be in the spring or the fall, but I just always remember these dates. I mean, I can picture being in a bar in in Northeast Baltimore, actually, one of these horrible rainy days, and then have to think. It's terrible. So I bring this all up because Bitcoin, it doesn't matter when it rains. Okay. That's the best thing in the world. But Bitcoin never needs a new roof. Bitcoin never has a flood or anything like that. So it's this time of year, and again here in Santiago, Chile. It's obviously spring. It's not raining, or it has nothing to do. I don't even know what's going on in Baltimore right now in terms of the weather. I heard it was hot the other day. Good. It won't rain, but it will rain one day, and wherever you are, and that is just one of the pains of being a homeowner. And one of the joys of no longer, you can tell I got a big smile on my face just thinking about not having to worry about that. Because when I was traveling these last few years, and I wasn't in Baltimore and this time, and I would think about that. I'm like, please don't let it rain. Please don't let it rain when I'm gone. And I don't want to deal with a roofer or deal with a leaky roof when I'm halfway across the globe. How am I going to deal with that? I mean, it's such a pain. And such a happy time not having to worry about that type of thing anymore. For all you people who value your wealth in real estate and all that, and think that real estate is the big answer to your problems, this Bitcoin store of value, this Bitcoin asset class is so awesome compared to that. And so there you go. There's a little story putting into real life there. Oh yeah, and people can sue you also when if your roof leaks and it leaks into their house. It's a row house in Baltimore. You got the row houses and stuff. So sometimes it's their roof leaking into your leak, or your roof leaking in their house. And I mean, again, with Bitcoin, you don't have to worry about. But this is the things they don't tell you about in real estate. They don't tell you, or your gutter is leaking onto their property. Or the things they can make up about you, the neighbors or people that just want to sue you can make up again. And that's the thing about Bitcoin. They can't sue you for your Bitcoin. And people think this, well, Adam, what are you talking about? Live it. No, I don't want you to live it, by the way. I don't want you to be a real estate owner in an inner city where you have to, with row houses connected. I don't want you to have to live through that fear, because there's fear sometimes. If you are a long-term thinker type of person, if you're impulsive and stuff, you don't worry about those type of things. You have a live and let live attitude, and then you get struck by some lawsuit that takes away all your money, then yeah. But if you are a long-term thinker, you're concerned, and you're probably saying, well, Adam, insurance cover. No, insurance doesn't cover everything. It's and again, it'll bring up maybe it does. Then your insurance will go up the next time. Again, it's so much easier not having to deal with that anymore. That is my point. Another thing from Baltimore City that I want to, and the state of Maryland that I want to tell you about, that's so funny with governments. They make this huge deal about lead poisoning and getting all the lead paint out of your house. And the state of Maryland, the Maryland Department of the Environment, and Baltimore City make you sign all these papers every year and, fill in all these numbers and stuff. They don't check anything. The only thing they care about is if you write them the check. If you don't write them the check, you will be contacted. Now, the thing is, what you're told is, like, if you pay this fee every year and you do, then you can't be, you can only be sued by the tenant for like $10,000 or something, which is also a lie. They can sue you for more. It's virtue signaling on the parts of politicians. They know that most people are totally irresponsible and have the same mindset of, like, it's not the tenant's fault if they let their kids run wild and take baseball bats to your walls and start banging on things and the paint chips off and then they eat it and the parents don't wash them. No, it's not there. It's your fault. It's your fault that someone painted the house 100 years ago with lead paint. It's your fault someone did that. And so now you pay this every year. You don't have to worry about it. Or they can only say it's all BS. It's such BS. The Maryland Department of Energy, Baltimore City, they just want to collect that check every year. When you do get sued by those tenants, they don't care. Whatever. Yeah, sure. You registered. Oh, wow. You registered with the state of Maryland, Baltimore City. Big whoop. Big whoop, says the city. They don't care anymore. They're going to be on the tenant side. They'll probably testify against you or something. So again, that's some of the other joys of owning, what real estate people don't tell you they don't say all these things. That tenants, you are the slave of the tenant. I've said that many times. They're your lord. You're not their landlord. You're their slave. Trust me. And I know that sounds like bad language there or whatever, but whatever. I can say whatever the heck I want to. I'm a Bitcoin guy. They can't take it from me. I don't own any houses anymore, so none of these freakazoids can sue me or anything for tripping on my sidewalk or whatever. And anyway, so here we got in the super chat. We got Anthony Monero again. This dude's been sending stuff all the time. Thank you for the 229 euros. Bitcoin is like the sun. It's always daytime. Yeah, I like that. You should have that positive type of attitude. In real estate, you don't know, man. It can be daytime sometimes, but then it can be the darkest of nights. Oh, you can worry about things. It's horrible. So some people out there, a few people have said in the super chat or in the chat, and thank you, Anthony. They're like, hey, Adam, you look like Adam from Maroon 5. And this is a funny story. I think part of the reasons people say that is because we have the same name, and he's Jewish, and I'm Jewish. I believe he's Jewish, right? Or again, at least his dad or his grandfather was Jewish or something like that. Whatever. So what is his name? Maybe he's the. We're not. Well, maybe that'll be a subject matter for another time if he's Jewish or he's not Jewish. But no, it was funny. But this all started. It used to be only black women would say this to me. They'd be, you look like Adam from Maroon 5. And I was like, black women know Adam from Maroon 5. This is great. I didn't even know who the guy was. I didn't know who he was. And so that was like a trend for a while. But all of those women knew my first name. So finally, it was a few years ago, I was walking on the streets of New Zealand. And these guys in New Zealand can drink heavily. And so it was nighttime. And there were some drunks walking around. And the guy, you look like Adam from Maroon 5. And that guy did not know my name. And I said, oh, no. I said, people have said that to me before. He's like, are you British? And so obviously the dude was totally drunk. But yeah, I guess there's something to it. But I think a lot of the reason people say I look like Adam from Maroon 5 is because we have the same name. And it just puts people in that mindset. Adam, they got black hair or whatever, Jewish or whatever you want to say. So no, I look like the first person I've ever said that people said I look like was the first famous person that I can remember was I was in 9th grade actually, and this girl in a junior who was like this punk-looking girl. I won't. Well, anyway, she said I look like Perry Farrell and of Jane's Addiction. So who is Jewish, and yeah, I look a little like Perry Farrell, sort of, and he could be a distant relative of mine. His real last name is Bernstein, by the way. Yeah, so yeah, if you think I look like Perry Farrell, pound that like button. And yeah, Jane's Addiction can be they had some good stuff. He's a creative guy, Perry Farrell. Wild dude though. What do we got here? Oh, here's an article from yeah, this is definitely beyond Bitcoin type of stuff, isn't it? I like doing this show every Saturday night. So Bloomberg has a story out there. After Kanye praises Trump, De Niro talks of finding anti-Trump. Okay, so I don't try to get involved with this politics stuff, but what I have brought up on this show before is how I can see what direction the media is going in, how they want to influence the masses. They want there to be some type of anti-Trump type of person. It can't be an Elizabeth Warren, one of these hags. No, it can't be something like that. That's not what they want. An Obama 2.0 type of person. And right now you really can't. But I said I noticed, and you can tune in to what it was like 5 weeks ago now. And this is partially because of Ben Shapiro pointing out this race. Beto O'Rourke in Texas. He's a congressman running against Senator Ted Cruz. Now, is Beto going to beat Senator Ted Cruz? It doesn't look like it. If he did, then he would immediately be the front runner to be the Democratic nominee for president of the United States. But even if he loses, people are on this Beto train, okay? Every week, there are news stories about this Beto, putting him onto this national track. He's just a Texas dude now, but they want him to be a national guy. The media, the influencers of the 80%ers, okay? And this is I'm just saying, don't be shocked. You were warned, plan accordingly. So here is a quote from this article, this Robert De Niro quote. This Beto O'Rourke seems interesting, De Niro said, referring to the Democratic Senate candidate in Texas who has drawn a national spotlight for his spirited campaign against Republican Senator Ted. So, all right, we got a guy like a big Trump hater like De Niro just bringing up Beto O'Rourke now. And again, Beto O'Rourke is 100% white, but he has a Hispanic nickname. So this gets him palsy with the Hispanics and stuff, which is a big thing to do apparently. And he's going for this RFK 2.0 thing, Obama 2.0. It's so predictable. It is so predictable now how the masses are influenced. And it's formulaic. If you are a smart, intelligent person involved in the media and in politics, you can just you could pick out a person and get other people to agree with you, market that person a certain way, and the 80%ers buy it up. They eat it up. And it's just so I'm pointing all this out just so think for yourself. Don't worry about politics too much. But if the media and intelligent people in politics, and again, I'm not ripping on these people at all. They're doing what they do. This is what they do. They're marketers. They're influencers. They try to influence the masses. When you live in this society where power is given to people in elections, massive power is given to people in elections, then you're going to want to be a part of that. And it's not the most moral thing to get into, but that's what these people go to. So if they can sway the masses to do that, to think that Beto O'Rourke is the greatest thing, they can convince people of so many other things through television and through the other traditional means of communication, through pretty faces, through fancy graphics. So this is, just try to avoid that lifestyle. Try to avoid and think for yourself. Don't let these people think for you and tell you what to think. Okay, what is this here? The market ticker guy down in Florida, Carr Denninger, who, again, writes a lot about economics, but he's in the panhandle of Florida. And he he stuck out the hurricane down there. And again, I hate, again, another thing with the mass media that they try to do is just get you so freaked out about these storms because everybody watches it. Just everybody, so they make money off of it. They know that the 80%ers just love to worry about these big storms. So Carl Denninger is like, this was not a category 4 storm or whatever they were saying it was. He's like, this is and he gives reasons. He shows pictures and everything. And he just shows you how the media can exaggerate these things. And, different people in the media exaggerate it for different reasons. Some of them are trying to build up a narrative where they're going to blame the government for, the storm or blame global warming or whatever they're going to try to blame to make it seem worse than it is. And the problem with this is, they can lie about what they want to, they can exaggerate what they want to, but they're crying wolf. If they're going to say every storm is a category 4 or category 5 storm, and eventually people are just going to be like, oh, well, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't. And then when one really happens or when one really is going to happen, people will not be prepared and then they're going to die. And so there is a price for this. But I linked to Carl's article below so you can check that out yourself. Something that Stefan Molyneux said lately that I really like. He says, ask for what you want. He asked for what he wants. He admits it. He wants donations. He wants donations to his show. He feels his show is worth a certain amount, and he says this is what he wants. You should pay me. He says you should pay me for my shows. If you're watching my shows, you shouldn't be a freeloader. And of course, I've always said people should freeload off of my. I don't say that because I don't want everyone to pay for the door. I like giving out my show for free. Now, again, if you want a crypto consultation, yeah, then you're gonna have to pay me. And that's what I want. If you want a one-on-one crypto consultation, need help setting up your Trezor, email me at adam@trezorhelp.com. I want you to pay me. Of course, I want you to pay. And there's no shame in that. And that's what he's trying to say, that we're living in this world where if you say what you want, you're going to, all these people, and there's psychological reasons why people do that, why they rip on you for saying what you want, because they can't say, they don't have the confidence themselves to say what they want in life. If you want something, say it. Tell a person. Don't try to be, what is it? There's no passive aggressive. I mean, are you gonna be passive aggressive about it and stuff? I mean, that's weak. It's terrible. Straight up, be confident. Say what you want, and maybe you'll get it. Maybe you won't. If you fail, you fail. Try again. That's how you stay in motion. You're not in motion when you don't tell people what you want. You're not gonna get. You're gonna be unhappy in life. So yeah, say what you want in life. If you don't. Anyway, so yeah, that's a good reminder by Stefan Molyneux. And you don't have to agree with him. You don't have to say like, oh, I think Stefan Molyneux should get paid. You can say to him like, oh, I don't think you're worth that much, and then you're gonna have to argue why you don't think. But to say, you shouldn't be asking just because you shouldn't be asking, yeah, that's terrible. Okay, so I came up with this term the other day because it seems like so many people. In the virtual space, in the internet space out there, so many people with opinions that are not mainstream are being attacked. And if you did something wrong many years ago, you could now be pummeled by the virtual mob. It is a virtual pogrom. It is an electric pogrom out there where just people are piling on you to destroy your reputation. You can get just destroyed virtually. If you say the wrong thing, you are going to get pummeled. And a virtual pogrom. And again, pogroms are very serious things. But this is a very serious thing. If you were just saying your opinion, and then someone thinks it's cool that now we're going to destroy this person's reputation forever and ever, and they're never going to be able to get a job again. They're never going to be able to have friends again. Unless they're in the Bitcoin overlay, pound that freaking like button again. And that's another reason not to be dependent on those type of people or on those jobs or on fitting in. Because fitting in is overrated, totally overrated. Get into the Bitcoin overlay. So there is a video out there by this MGTOW dude, and I linked to it below hand. And it's about technology and instant gratification, and how 80%ers need instant gratification. They need it now. They need their iPhones. And the thing that's going on is, and they need their fast food. They need it now. Well, technology has gotten to a point where everyone can have instant gratification. People don't need to use their heads anymore. And because of this, because instant gratification is so easy to attain now because of technology, people are not thinking as much. People aren't using their brains as much. And I point to, like, people can't read maps anymore. If they're going somewhere, they're not going to look at a map and try to map it out beforehand. They're going to have the little voice on the computer in their car telling them what to do. The whatchamacallit. I can't even think of the name of it. And what I advise the people, or what I'm thinking here, is that the technology can dumb people down. Step away from technology. Step away from technology every once in a while, and this instant gratification world, and try to use your brain to figure out things, to do things the slow way sometimes. Okay, look at maps. Again, when I run, I map out everything before. So I've got a map in my head. I don't have GPS. I don't have to depend on GPS or anything like that. And I walk places. You take more things in when you're walking instead of driving, of course. If you cook your own food, you got to think about cooking, the times that it's in there for, the correct mix of things, what to buy at the store, instead of just, going to a restaurant, or just going to a fast food is horrible. And so I really think exercising your brain in that way is really important. And that technology, and this guy gets into it pretty deep in his video. You can check it. I mean, have we lost, because of technology, situational awareness too? Like you don't even realize what type of situation you're in, what different approaches you need to take depending on what situation you're in. You're relying on your iPhone to give you the answer to everything. And that's, I mean, it is convenient that your iPhone can answer so many different things for you now. But people are not thinking anymore. People are not coming up with their own philosophies anymore. They're just, going to the iPhone. It's giving them an answer. Google's giving them an answer, and that's it. That's their philosophy. Google answers for them. So I want to say also, deferral of gratification. It's using your head. You're thinking long term. You're planning ahead. Planning is using your brain. Instant gratification, just getting everything. You're not pushing a button and then the big screen TV comes down and answers all your desires. Again, and that's what I'm saying. Once we get this virtual reality and you push a button, you enter that virtual reality world, you're not increasing your brain muscle at all. Okay, I know it's not a month, but again, so my advice to people out there is, and to read instead of watch the TV, of course. And, and read the articles that I link to instead of just listening to me. But if you're listening to me, really listening comprehension, use that brain muscle. Because again, technology, and I love that we live in this world of technology. But if technology makes things too easy, then everyone will be just such a mindless zombie, they won't try to improve technology anymore. Well, 80%ers at least. But I am confident in 20%ers. Will always be striving for that next horizon, that next frontier. I mean, that's why I always talk about space exploration, because no, it's not enough for us just to be on this rock. We got to keep going. You got to keep going. You got to keep thinking. You got to keep imagining. And again, in this world of technology, where it can bring us everything at the snap of a finger, if you just get addicted to that, if every single thing is just instant gratification, you're not using your head anymore, and you're gonna lose. I don't know what's gonna happen to you, man. You're gonna be I guess you'll be a happy zombie, a happy fat zombie. But that's not the way. But be careful, people. Be careful out there. And again, I don't even have a phone. I don't even have an iPhone. I have to use my head. I have to figure out ways to get around. But some people are like, how do you not have an iPhone? How do you get picked up from the airport? How does this? I have to think. I have to make plans. Imagine that. I have to make plans. People don't make plans anymore. And that's terrible. They're not using their head. So the more and more you get yourself into this long-term thinking, planning mode, you're going to be a better planner of every aspect of your life if you're not hooked on instant gratification. And apply that to your financial life. All these people who just, microwave their Hot Pocket or go to McDonald's or whatever, They're the same people who just want the price of Ripple to increase immediately. They're not thinking about what Ripple even is. You know, the Bitcoin stuff is too complex because they have to think. It's boring. I want the instant gratification, newest, hottest thing. That mindset puts you down a path of ruin financially also. Again, the more you exercise this thing, the more you're going to be able to be successful in every aspect of life. And you're not going to be a blamer, and you're not going to be a complainer. You're just going to be a go-getter, and you'll be in motion, dudes. All right, so speaking of blaming, oh yeah, and intermittent fasting, people. Intermittent fasting. Do that. That's really deferral of gratification right there. And yeah, you got to think about that. You got to think about, like, well, how am I going to make it through this 22-hour fast? And when am I going to cook at the end of it? And how am I going to cook it? And when am I going to do it? How am I going to fit it into my schedule? How do I fit fasting into my schedule? You actually have to plan that out, because most of the world isn't doing a 22-hour fast. I have to arrange my shows around my my fasting. I have to arrange sometimes trips, and then I have to fast longer. You know, this is all, there's strategy involved. People don't know anything about strategies anymore and planning. It's amazing. So it's just another reason not to rely too much on technology. Okay, enough of that. So blaming others and scapegoating in the Bitcoin community. We still have, in the cryptocurrency Bitcoin community, we still have people trying to blame the B cashers, blame XYZ, blame someone. Don't do that. This is what I was talking about earlier. We are getting into this mob mentality. We're in the mainstream world. We're in popular culture. It is awesome to form a mob now, to blame people, to scapegoat, mobbing on people, being just not civil and just attacking. No rule of law. That's fine. It's fine doing that thing. Mob rule is great. This is something that's an 80%er type of thing. That's popular culture, and it's disturbing. That is disturbing. So keep that 20% mentality. Like, don't let yourself go down that road by blaming others. Okay, by scapegoating. It is a vicious, scapegoating is a very bad thing to get into, because it can lead to death. It can lead to backfiring on you too. Because and this Owen Benjamin guy actually brings up a really good point. You know, we have many people from Hollywood, from the elite classes, wealthy people, intellectuals. He points out, what are those guys that have been on Ben Shapiro's show? They're brothers. What are their names? And they're liberal. They're Jewish. What's that guy? I should have written their name down. Anyway, so what happens is sometimes, you know, the intellectuals encourages this blame type of game, and it'll backfire on them totally, because when you create these mobs and even if you're not even meaning to create mobs, but if you spark something that ends up creating mobs, that creates this blame mentality. A mob, by definition, is completely uncontrollable and completely irrational and completely doesn't think. And they're going to go against the people they understand the least, and the people who are probably the smartest of the people involved in all sorts of industries that they cannot understand. And when it was the Weinstein brothers he was talking about. And I'm not saying the Weinstein brothers are trying to start mobs or anything like that. But if they do spark this, let's blame Trump, let's get everybody angry, let's get all the masses, it's going to come back on them, okay, especially. And they should know this better than everyone. As Jewish people, we should know this. We have been scapegoated. In the long run, we will be scapegoated for everything. Everything that goes wrong, we're going to get blamed. We should have that mentality. So to spark that off, to get people into this mob frenzy for whatever, to start that frenzied mood, that tone in America. It's gonna come back to bite you if you're whatever type of intellectual you are, you think you are, or how untouchable you think you are. If you create vicious mobs, they're gonna turn on you eventually. That is the definition of a mob. They're not smart. They're not intellectual. They're not thinking at all. So I thought Owen Benjamin was bold to actually say that, to bring it up that, he said as Jewish people, you can't be involved in this type of stuff. It will turn on you eventually. It will destroy you eventually. And this is the thing. And as a guy who is doesn't blame people who doesn't I'm not in this liberal elite. I very well could be. I mean, obviously, my entire life I've gone to nice schools and everything like. So I've been involved with the liberal elite and everything like that. But I've always wondered, and people, and this is another reason why people hate Jewish people is like, why are so many Jewish people liberal? It makes no sense, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't on a certain level. It doesn't make much sense because they're sometimes it leads to a situation, and when I mean liberal, I mean socialism type stuff, and communist type stuff. Why could a Jewish person be involved with something like that? Because in the end, it will end with them being destroyed because they're the people that aren't understood. They're the upper class. They're the ones that we brought down. And so I thought that was interesting. But again, going back to the greater point, don't contribute to the blame game. And no, I'm not saying it's. I'm the last person to saying it's the Weinstein brothers' fault or anything like that. If there's going to be a riot in XYZ, but you as a 20%er out there, don't get into the blame game. Don't get into scapegoating. Scapegoating leads to really horrific situations in the end of the game. In the end of the day, so if you can just take personal responsibility yourself, if something goes wrong. And if you don't want to be involved in this, then get away from the situation. Don't try to blame people. Don't try to inflame the situation. Because as smart as you may think you are, as smart as you may be, you cannot control a mob. And that mob will eat you up eventually. All right. So, yeah, that's it. Pound that like button. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video. Check out the notes section below. I post a new video here every day, disruptmeister.com. See you on Sunday. I hope I didn't leave anything out there. Oh, no, I did want to say that final Stephen Molyneux line. Individualism is the achievement. Collectivism is the default. So it's easy to be an 80%er. To be an individualistic 20%er, you got to work toward that. So keep on working toward that, people. Get out. Let's get away from these mob mentalities and let's get into the Bitcoin overlay. See ya.